Well, hi, hello, and how are you doing out there in internet land? Yeah, you caught me. What can I tell you? Your erstwhile host was trying to munch on a little bit of breakfast before he gets his live stream started. How you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to Front Porch Brunch. This thing we do on the weekends, we get together, we talk about the news, we give our views, and we try to make it through this crazy thing that we call life. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Sometimes I'm known as the beau in the chapeau. On occasion, I'm called the kid in the lid. Sometimes I'm known as the common man with common sense, but in this moment, above all else, I am your host. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. And we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So please do me some favors as always. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. We are a fun little community here, getting together and trying to make laughs and trying to make funny and trying to make sense about everything going on. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Rumble, and while you're at it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button on both sides. We would appreciate that. And leave a comment and chat. Share the link around with your friends. Do all those crazy things you do. And it is so good to have all you here this morning. All right. Now that I feel like my brain's caught up with my breakfast. One moment, please. 1 second here. Let me also see if we can make the background a little bit better. All right. Now we're talking. There we go. Okay, that's better. Woo! A little bright this morning. Not that there's anything wrong with that. All right. Who is in the house this morning? Who is in the house? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Hello, my dear. Mwah, you good-looking thing. You glad to have you in the audience this morning. TBA is definitely here. Yes, it is. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. All right. Oh, WWG1's in the house as always. So he's going to save his memes till Tuesday. All right. Z Highness is here. Hello, you good-looking thing, you. Let's see who else is here this morning. Z Highness is here. One of my favorite crazy Canadians is in the house. Adam's here. Good morning, Adam. Good to have you here with us. Let's see. Zippy's in the house. Uh-oh. I woke up. Everything hurts. Sharpening my claws. Just another day in paradise. Well, we feel you, brother. We feel you. We feel you. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. Who else is here this morning? Lana's in the house. All right. All right. We're glad you're working. Don't get yourself in trouble, but if you do laugh out loud, that would really be funny. Let's see. What do you mean you're drinking breakfast? What kind of, oh, for heaven's sake, forevermore, man. Yep. Hey, cut that out. Let's see who else is here this morning. Oh, Patty, thank you for the membership. That is awesome. Thank you, darling. We genuinely do appreciate that. TBA says eggs on toast. The only thing better would have been adding bacon. I agree with that. That's not a bad way to go. Zippy is on his second sauce. Well, I want to know what he's putting in the cream, because apparently he's a bit shaky this morning. I don't know, man. I do not know. So good to have you guys here. New equipment is working out better and better all the time. All right. Well, Zippy's got an answer to what he's putting in the cream. He says Mountain Lightning, the best cheap sugar and caffeine a man could guzzle. Whee! You're a brave soul, brother. You're a brave soul. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So good to have you guys here with us this morning. And we got quite a bit of things to talk about, quite a few memes, quite a few stories to get into, some commentary. Looking forward to doing all of it. I tell you what, I am loving this new computer. Let me tell you something. I feel like I'm back to when I first started doing live streaming. It's going smoother and everything's better, and good stuff, man. And hopefully the quality is coming through on your end of it there as you're watching out there. So yeah, looking forward to getting into all this good stuff this morning. Okay, let us get started as we are wont to do. And we'll start with the merry memes. Now, as you all are fully aware, maybe what was about a week or two ago, James Comey was formally indicted for charges stemming from things that he did while he was director of the FBI and even after director of FBI. And you kind of got to wonder, well, what's he going to offer up by way of a defense? How do you defend these actions that he's engaged in? Well, ladies and gentlemen, he seems to have come up with a very novel idea. And it goes a little something like this. Apparently, he's going to produce a letter from 51 different intelligence officials saying that he's totally innocent of everything that happened. So I don't know when this document is going to be introduced in court, but apparently this is the defense that James Comey is going to rest his future on. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I don't know. It could get real interesting for Comey. That's all I'm saying. Very interesting indeed. But that's the defense. Apparently, he's got 51 people ready to say, nope, James didn't do it. Okay, well, let us see what happens, my friends. Let us see what happens. Tell you what. All right. What else is going on out there in internet land? Yes, the government shutdown continues. And you know, I've always said that the worst thing that could happen to the Democrats, is that you know, people go through a shutdown and they don't seem to notice. However, there is one problem with that, and that is this. When you're going through a government shutdown and someone says, nothing's changed, I haven't noticed a thing, and then they ask the most important question of them all, what the heck were you spending my money on? When it reaches that point, that's when the Democrats lose, truly. And you know, I know this is the joking section of the show, but let me ask you guys a serious question. And don't get me wrong, I know there are people out there watching right now who either are government employees or they've got friends or relatives who are government employees. But does anybody really notice any serious problems with the lack of government right now? I ask you, does anybody really notice? I don't. You know, so we'll see what happens. But yes, it's reached the point that people are realizing, wait a minute, nothing's changed. I haven't noticed a thing. What have they been spending all my money on? When it reaches that point, that's when the Democrats are in trouble. Yeah, $1 million question. Where is all the money going? Good question indeed. Indeed. Oh, now that is true. That is true. Matter of fact, I got a story about that a little later on in HodgePodge Stew. So we'll get into some of that. You know, yeah, I mean, a lot of people take this position. A lot of them take this position, TBA. Nothing's really changed for them. So we'll see what happens here. See what happens indeed. All right. What else have we got going on? You know, sometimes how you get things done is really all a matter of perspective. I mean, for example, Obama tried to get a Middle East peace deal, couldn't do it. Biden tried to get a Middle East peace deal, couldn't do it. Trump, on the other hand, has managed to pull it off, which sort of begs the interesting question, how did he do it? Well, like I said, sometimes it's just perspective. I mean, with Obama, let's negotiate. You know, Hamas, we will blow things up. Biden tries to negotiate. Hamas says, we'll blow things up. Trump says, I'm going to blow things up. Then Hamas is like, okay, let's negotiate. Let's talk. So sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, it's just all a matter of perspective. All a matter of perspective. So there you go. There you go. All right. What else do we have? Now, as you all know, I am a big fan of Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. I have often said he is a throwback to those great old Southern senators who not only had smarts, but they had a sense of humor about them, and they didn't take themselves or their job too seriously. John Kennedy is definitely one of those things. Well, I really do think that before his time in the United States Senate is over, somebody needs to write down a whole chronicle of various Kennedyisms. Those great little phrases that he gets off that so encapsulates the moment and explains to you what is going on. Matter of fact, we came across one recently, and I love this. This might become one of my new mottos in life, where John Kennedy said, "I believe that love is the answer, but I want a handgun just in case." So true, so true. My goodness me. Anyway, another Kennedyism from the great gentleman from Louis. Yeah, you and me both, brother. When they come out with that Kennedyisms book, I want to hear that. I want to get a copy of it. Oh, great one-liners. Oh, really? Really? Okay. That's really good. That is good indeed. Okay. So yes, some more Kennedyisms. All right. One more meme, and we will get into our story of the morning. You guys remember those great episodes of the Maury Povich show and the Jerry Springer show, having to do with questions of paternity and all that ensued because of it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, ever since those great shows, we can honestly say things have truly gone to the dogs. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor and check this out.
All right, here we go. In the case of 8-week-old Midnight, you are not the father.
In the case of this 8-week-old brown puppy, you are not the father!
In the case of the 8-week-old brown puppy, oh boy, you are not the father.
Ran him right out of the studio, folks. Ran him right out the studio. Oh my gosh. Good morning, dear. We're so glad to have you here with us. Mwah. Glad you be in the house. So yeah, there you go. All right. As always, much thank. Hey, see, this is what you get when you just walk in on the electronic front porch and you see that kind of a scene going. I tell you. Yeah, that could be part of the TPA halftime show. Oh, geez. Woo. Anyway, much thanks to TBA. Much thanks to everybody who contributes memes. And as always, hey, you see my Twitter handle down here. If you've got a meme, or if you got a story that you think is funny or serious or anywhere in between, hey, tag me. You know, my DMs are open on Twitter. Feel free to drop me a line and let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear it. So, you know, be good to have you guys. Well, don't get me, it's always good, but yeah, anytime you guys make contributions to the live stream, it is always appreciated. So, thank you ever so much. And with that, we're going to start getting into some stories for the morning. And some of this stuff broke last week, and I really didn't have quite the chance to comment on it the way I wanted to. But that's the nice thing about Front Porch Brunch is that always looking for an opportunity to get into something. Hang on a second. I have just been sent something here by B Money has just sent in something. Hang on a minute. Let's see what this is. One moment, please. Okay. All right. We got a Melania sighting. So hang on, folks. Okay. Okay. We'll check this out. All right. Give me 1 second here, folks. B Money has just dropped in something. So you know what? Let's play it. I'm willing to put it up there. And with that, here are some remarks from Melania Trump.
You guys know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm. We have the world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we'll have a great evening. Thank you all for coming.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Give us a hint of the
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. All right. Much thanks, B Money. And the post that goes with it. Would you look at that? Melania wore the same exact outfit today she did during the time that President Trump said calm before the storm and the very first air cue. Feels kind of stormy, don't it? Some background on a lot of people don't know is when Trump said, do you know what this represents? Okay. Well, there you go. Little QAnon stuff for you this morning. We'll throw everything in. All right. I was getting ready to say a moment ago, and B Money, thank you very much for that contribution to the live streams. Always appreciate it. Front Porch Brunch gives me a chance to kind of expand on some things where time may not allow me to do it. And there were some stories that broke this week that I've been definitely wanting to get into. And one of them is this whole thing with Leticia James and the mortgage fraud case that's been brought against her. Now, I remember when this all broke back in April. There's a fellow who works in the Trump administration named Bill Pulte, Pulte, and I think he works in the Federal Housing Administration as the head of the agency. And Bill had found enough evidence to refer something over to the Department of Justice and like, hey, man, I think we got a case of mortgage fraud here. Now, for those of you maybe not familiar with how mortgage fraud can take on all kinds of different permutations. Okay. And since I used to work in that industry very recently, I can speak to a lot of this. There are all kinds of ways that a person can go about committing mortgage fraud under current U.S. law and current U.S. regulation. Okay. Now, some things are very subtle. If you're not paying attention, you don't realize what's going on. Some things are so blatant, you cannot help but notice them. And I have a bad feeling that that's what's going on with Leticia James. It's so blatantly obvious what she did that, man, if we don't do something about this one, who are we going to do something about? Oh, man, wait a minute. Sean's in the house. Sean is in the house. Oh, my goodness. And Zippy with a Rumble rant. Thank you for that Rumble rant. Twitter temporarily banned me permanently for spam. It's confusing, says both. No emails. Seems they don't like people doom scrolling and commenting. I have so much free time now. LOL. Well, thank you for that, Zippy. We genuinely appreciate the Rumble rant. And Sean, good to have you here this morning, my brother. Leticia James may have done something so blatant that it's impossible to ignore. Matter of fact, I remember when Bill Pulte, the head of the Federal Housing Administration, he was asked about this by Fox News. And he said, look, this thing is open and shut. Now, you might wonder what it was that Leticia is accused of. Well, let's get into it. I got article here from NBC News. Headline: Grand jury indicts New York Attorney General Leticia James, a Trump opponent, on bank fraud charges. No. NBC News, let me help you out here, okay? First of all, whether she's a Trump opponent or a Trump proponent, that doesn't matter. But you feel the need to inject that into the headline, okay? Scrap that, okay? And second of all, it's not bank fraud. It's mortgage fraud. And there's a difference between those two things, okay? But with that said, let's get into it. We got an article here from Ryan Riley, Michael Cosner, Adam Reese, and Chloe Adkins of NBC News, Dateline, Washington, D.C. And let me see if I can pump this up a little bit better for you guys. There we go. New York Attorney General Leticia James, a Democrat who has clashed with President Donald Trump, was indicted Thursday by a federal grand jury in Virginia. James was charged with one count of bank fraud and one count of making false statements to a financial institution after Trump publicly called for his Justice Department appointees to bring charges against her. The indictment alleges that James falsely claimed that a home in Norfolk, Virginia, was her second residence, allowing her to obtain favorable loan terms, and that she rented the property to a family of 3. James could face up to 30 years in prison and up to $1 million fine on each count if she is convicted. She vehemently denies the charges. Quote, "These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make it clear his only goal is political retribution at any cost," James said in a statement, which she also read aloud in a video on Twitter. "The president's actions are a grave violation of our constitutional order and have drawn sharp criticism from members of both parties." All right, I want to stop right here because, as y'all know, there is only so much hypocrisy that I can stand at one time, and I've had it with this already, okay? May I remind everybody that when Leticia James first ran for Attorney General of the state of New York, she stated her goal was to bring a case against Donald Trump. Now, at that point, had Donald Trump been accused of anything? Had Donald Trump done anything wrong? Nothing. I'm running to get Donald Trump. That is exactly what she said. And now she has the unmitigated gall, which, believe me, coming from a Democrat, there's no such thing as unmitigated or necessarily even unlimited gall. She has the gall to say, these charges are baseless. His only goal is political retribution. No. How about, here's something for you to think about, Leticia. What if it's actually justice? And TBA, you bring up a really good point. You bring up something I want to get into, and I thank you for this. Now I know he's joking when he makes a statement, everybody commits mortgage fraud, don't you know? No, not everybody does commit mortgage fraud. Most folks out there who apply for a mortgage are quite scrupulous about how they go about doing it. They present their documents, they present statements of income, they present their tax returns, their bank statements, their W-2s, their pay stubs. They provide all the information requested to try to obtain a mortgage, particularly a mortgage if it's done by FHA, USDA, VA, what have you. Okay? They don't commit fraud. Leticia, on the other hand, may, and I'm giving her benefit of the doubt here because she is innocent until proven guilty, may have said, "I'm Leticia James and I'll do whatever bleep, bleep, bleep I please," and violated those basic tenets. I remember, believe me, brother, getting a VA home loan, yeah, they will absolutely put you through the ringer in terms of things they'll ask you for. I mean, it's nothing so egregious that a person can't do it, but that's my point. These federal agencies, FHA, USDA, Department of Veterans Affairs, excuse me, are very scrupulous about this stuff. And there is a reason why there are laws against bank fraud, because people have committed bank fraud over the years. Okay? It's one of the reasons anyway. But Leticia may have just taken and said, nah, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I want. So she says it's about retribution. How about justice under the law? How about, remember that phrase, nobody is above the law? Remember that one, Leticia? That's what you kept saying with every case and every count you brought against Donald Trump in a New York courtroom. Remember? That's what you said. Nobody is above the law. So does that mean that you are? Now, look, if you can prove your innocence in all this, go into a courtroom, present your case, let's see what happens. However, I think you're going to have a very hard time with this one. Now, I say that in part because somebody has already been looking at this. Now, I've got a series of tweets here from, although he's welcome on this channel anytime he wants to. He's never been here before. Nate the Lawyer. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there watching this live stream right now are really familiar with Nate and his work. His name is Nate Brody. He's a former police officer in New York City. He's now an attorney, and he has his own YouTube channel. And he started doing some digging into this indictment. And I when I first saw his reaction to it, I thought, oh, come on, Nate. There's got to be more to it than that. They wouldn't go this far unless they thought they had something. Well, Nate's been doing some digging, and I want to show you what he found from the indictment. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's good. I mean, I would recommend his channel to anybody. Nate the Lawyer is really one of the best YouTube channels out there, and very even-handed. He's not, I mean, he's like, look, here are the facts, and here's what the law says. That's part of why I like the guy so much. I don't always get the chance to watch him, but man, I will recommend him to anybody who's trying to find someone in LawTube to, say, hey, what does the law say in this matter? He's a good one. Good Logic, Robert Gobert, Viva, Barnes, all those cats. I will recommend them to anybody. But Nate's been doing some digging into this thing, and I want to show you what he found, okay? Because at first he said, oh, this thing is total BS. This indictment is garbage. Then he did some digging, and here's what he found. And I want to read some of these to you. The New York Attorney General has some real issues. Evidence the DOJ says proves Leticia James defrauded the bank. She claimed that a Norfolk home was a secondary residence to get better loan terms. Okay. That in and of itself is not against the law. Okay. I cannot tell you the number of people over the years, whether I was working in retail banking or whether I was working in the mortgage industry, who would buy a home just for that purpose. It was their second home. Okay. Maybe a vacation house, or maybe they were planning on, retiring in the near future, and they wanted to go ahead and buy something in preparation for that. Okay. That in and of itself. Oh yeah. Legal minds. It's another good one. Zippy. I totally agree with that. Buying a second home in and of itself is not illegal. It's what you do with it after the purchase that becomes the problem, because she signed something called a second home rider promising to live there. Now, if you're not familiar with that document, a second home rider is basically what it sounds like. In other words, you promise in writing, I intend to reside in this, my second house. Okay. Maybe you're going to do it for, like I said, maybe you're going to do it for vacation. Maybe you're going to do it for whatever, but this is, I am going to reside here. Okay. I will be taking up residence in this house. Okay. Got a question. WWG1 says, did you ever deal with BlackRock commercial real estate, Brian? I'm trying to think. Directly as a buyer? No. They may have been the seller on a few transactions I was involved with, but no, I don't remember them directly as a buyer per se. Hey, what's up, Kawan? Good to have you in the house, my friend. Boom. Fist bump to you. So yeah, Leticia James, in writing, told everybody, this house that I'm purchasing in Norfolk, Virginia, this is going to be my second home. Okay, again, we're still fine at that point. She's bought a second house. She's in writing said, this is going to be my secondary residence. Okay, where's the problem come in? It's what the DOJ is alleging, and it's this. She rented it out to tenants. That's a problem. Okay. And not only did she rent it out to tenants, it is alleged that she reported the rental income on her tax return. Now, I'm no lawyer, nor am I an accountant. But even without being one of those, if I were going to try to do what Leticia James is accused of doing, there's most certainly no way in the world I'd ever report that income on my tax return. But apparently, and again, I am giving her benefit of the doubt as I would anybody else. Apparently, not only did she, lie on a federal document saying this is going to be my second home, she rented out the property and took the rental income and reported it on her tax return. She basically gave prosecutors a breadcrumb trail to follow the money all the way back to her. Good. Oh, now, Zippy, I did not know this. Interesting. Okay. Well, God bless your aunt. Working in banking is tough, man. It really is. It really is. Oh, this is so true, WWG1. You're absolutely right about this. They are definitely not intelligent. And apparently, Leticia wasn't that smart at all. So she reports it on her taxes, told the insurer that it was owner occupied. And in doing all that, the Justice Department is claiming she saved almost $19,000 from that false claim. That's where the crime's coming in. Like I said, her buying a second home or even a third home, fine. Perfectly fine. But you can't do all that, then turn around, rent it out to someone, and then claim the money on your taxes. You can't do that. Because remember, in part, how you structure the loan. In other words, what you tell the mortgage lender is your purpose for obtaining the mortgage loan will determine in part the interest rate and the terms that you're able to obtain. If she falsified with intent what she was going to do with that property, and then you've got evidence showing exactly what she did, yeah, that's a problem, and not just a problem, it's potentially criminal. Yeah. Well, good morning, AH. We're glad to have you in the audience this morning. A hat tip in your general direction. So yeah, we got a problem here. And it's not just that. Nate's got some more information that's related to this. So to go a little bit further, now Leticia James is trying to put up a smoke screen here. And Nate very quickly dispenses with all of that. Here's why she's claiming that the charges are baseless. James's argument is that all this relates to 2023. In other words, she bought a property in 2023, and the property was no. Nate points out something very, very specific. The Justice Department is not going after her for what she did or didn't do in 2023. The Justice Department is going after her based on what she did in 2021. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is fair game. Okay? It is very fair game. And like I say, if they can prove, if they've got the documentation to prove, she said this one thing on her documents, here's what she did with the actual property, she got big problems. I have known of individuals, okay? I know one person in particular. I know who it was. I'm not going to mention any names because for various reasons, who either has done time in federal prison or is doing time currently, not even for anything as severe as this, okay? But believe me, when it comes to mortgage fraud, the federal government takes that very seriously. And this person that I know of, their specific situation, they weren't, a political leader. They weren't, a member of the state legislature or anything else. No, just like you and me, just, out there trying to live and make it through this world. And yeah, feds came down on them, took him to court, proved it, put him in jail. This is very serious stuff because it goes to the question of how do we treat all people equally? Because remember, say what you want to about laws in general, okay? But let's just focus in on the question of mortgage lending, okay? And again, it's an area I've got a lot of familiarity with. People will argue, well, this law is too stringent, this rule or regulation is okay, that's fine. But there is one intention behind all of it, and that is we treat everybody equally. Okay. Well, but no, Sean, hold on. This case is not brought in New York. This is brought in Virginia. She purchases the properties down in Virginia. They're bringing this in I think it's the Richmond district. So it's not in New York. She's out of her element here. Okay. You're right. If this were New York, I'd say she probably does get a slap on the wrist. This is being done in a Virginia courtroom, in a federal Virginia courtroom. So, yeah, okay. I can respect that. I can respect that position. But in principle, mortgage lending is supposed to treat all people equally. Okay. What does it say if someone like a Leticia James commits mortgage fraud, gets, disparate treatment that regular people otherwise wouldn't get? She says this is about retribution. No, 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 no. I'm saying this is about equal justice under the law. It just so happens that you sowed to the wind, and now, Leticia, you're reaping the whirlwind. Okay. Couple of more posts from Nate. And let me get lined up here. And it's not just Virginia property. Okay. It's not just Virginia property. She got all kinds of problems all over the place. Wait. You were in my neck of the woods the other day? Oh my goodness. And hello, 17 George. Glad to have you here with us, hanging out on the Rumble side. Leticia's got all kinds of problems here. Here's a list of the various things they could go after. Apparently, she claims that a home that is owned in Brooklyn is hers. No. Claimed it's her father. No. Apparently, it's her husband. There's a property in Virginia on a place called Perone Avenue. Claimed on her mortgage she occupied it as a second home, but filed tax returns showing as rental with no personal use. That's a straight contradiction between her loan and her IRS filings. Yeah. And the third one is a place in Virginia called Sterling Street. She declared to be the primary residence, but she was still the attorney general of the state of New York. Folks, I am telling you, and look, I am no lawyer, nor I am a prosecutor, but I'm telling you right now, if this thing is as open and shut as it looks like it is, and they've got the documents to back this up, she's in deep doo-doo here. Now, again, the press is going, oh, well, Trump's just out for retribution. Trump's just, no. Let's see what kind of evidence and what kind of case the feds put on where Leticia James is concerned. Let's see what kind of case they bring. And like I said, if they've got the documents to back this up, for her, this could get real ugly real quick. Real quick. And again, press is going to claim there's nothing to this, or they're going to give you the great double standard. And if you don't believe me, folks, do me a favor, check this out.
These New York charges, residential mortgage fraud, among them, one of the most serious. So he's looking at 1 to 3 years minimum, 8 to 25 years maximum. These are huge ranges, but those would be inescapable, right? There's nothing a president can do to pardon on a state charge. James is the first Attorney General of New York to be indicted by the Justice Department, and it follows a nearly 6-month investigation into claims of mortgage fraud. Now, that is a charge the United States Justice Department rarely brings against individuals, but of course, James is not an ordinary individual. Trump considers her an enemy after she sued him in 2022, accusing Trump of lying about his real estate empire and the inflating the value of his properties. These New York charges.
No, Miss Burnett, may I respectfully point out something to you? This is not a charge that the federal government rarely brings. They bring this with regularity. You just don't hear about it. Now, is it in huge numbers? No, it's not necessarily in huge numbers. But it's not a charge that's rarely brought. This is usually brought, I could probably safely say several times a year in various jurisdictions around the country. Okay? So please spare me the whole, it's very rarely ever brought. No, quite the opposite, madam. It's brought with regularity. You just don't remember. And the coup de grace to all this, Scott Jennings on CNN. You got to hear this one, folks. Check it out. I think you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah, well, they went to a grand jury. They showed them evidence. A grand jury decided to bring charges, just like in the case of Comey. And in both cases, they'll get to go to court and have their day in court. And we'll see if the evidence ever makes it to a jury of their peers. Look, I mean, Leticia James is the absolute worst possible poster child for the argument of selective prosecution. Her entire political career has been on the idea of selectively prosecuting one person, Donald J. Trump. Whether you think the merits of the case are strong or weak, or how you think it's going to play out, going out tonight and crying and whining and fussing about selective prosecution when it comes to Leticia James, who ran an entire campaign saying she was going to go after Trump. The cases she brought, it was only because of Trump. I don't think the American people are going to have too much sympathy for it. But she'll get to go to court. She'll get to make her arguments, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
She tried to bankrupt him. She tried to ruin his life and try to make it so he couldn't run for president.
So what are we going to do?
I mean,
She
come on.
brought forward a case that she thought was meritorious,
I
and
just-
it was found
Thank
that
God.
it
By the
was
way,
meritorious.
thank God she failed in her ultimate goal. Otherwise, we wouldn't be bringing these hostages
Scott,
on Monday.
that
That's all
wasn't
I
the
have.
argument.
Yeah, well, they went to a grand jury.
Yeah, let's remember everything she tried to do. Let's remember everything that this woman tried to do. Why did she run for office? I'm going to get Donald Trump. Yeah, Erin Burnett did. Yeah, she spent a decade on CNBC. As a matter of fact, she was part of the infamous Cramer rant. If you've never watched that, the Jim Cramer rant at the beginning of the mortgage meltdown in 2007, 2008, you want to see somebody lose their stuff on cable television nationwide, go watch that. Yeah, she's been around for a while. Yeah, it's oh my gosh. So yeah, we'll see where all this goes, but I'm telling you right now, on its face, she's got huge problems indeed. All right, we're gonna move to a different compartment of the train. Oh yeah, and going back to that case that she brought against Trump. Yeah, that one commentator calls it meritorious. The banks testified. We don't feel like we got ripped off. We are all mutually benefited by the relationship, and she still went ahead with it. Unbelievable. All right. Before we move to a different compartment of the train, real quick commercial for me and my little channel. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative, and you have found your way to Front Porch Brunch. This is a live stream I do on the weekends. We get together, we talk about the news, we give our views, and we try and make it through life. If you're enjoying what we're doing right now, do me a favor. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel on YouTube and on Rumble. And while you're at it, hit the thumbs up button on this live stream. It really does help us out a great deal. Share the link with your friends. Hit the bell for notifications. We want to make sure you're always aware when something's going on with this channel. All right. Let us now consider the case of one John Bolton. Because frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it is now being reported. It is now being reported that John Bolton is next. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, this broke Friday evening. And you talk about some freak out inside liberal mediadom. This is going to get good. From our friends over at MSNBC. Headline: criminal charges against Bolton expected as early as next week. Federal prosecutors are considering filing charges against the former Trump national security advisor as either a rushed complaint or as an indictment. All right, let's see what we got here, folks. Article by Carol Leoning and Ken Delanian. We have the following. The acting U.S. attorney in Maryland is moving forward quickly to seek criminal charges against President Donald Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. Hang on, man. Let me see if I can increase that a little bit for you guys. Oh, there we go. That's better. That's better. Now we're talking. The complaint or an indictment could come as early as next week, said the sources, who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive matters without authorization. A grand jury in Maryland has been hearing evidence for several weeks related to claims that Bolton improperly kept classified national security information in his Maryland home. Now, wait a minute. Hold the phone a second. Call me crazy if you wish, but does this sound familiar to anybody? Does this sound like something we've heard about before? Maybe. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is what they accused Donald Trump of. And mortgage fraud. Where did I hear that one? Let's see. Mortgage fraud. Yeah, that's what they accused Donald Trump of. And now the very people who accused him of it, it's now being found out that quite possibly they engaged in the very thing themselves for which in the end Donald Trump was proven innocent. As Sinatra once sang, ain't that a kick in the head? Oh, wait, excuse me. That was Dean Martin. Sorry. All right, back to the article. If Bolton is criminally charged, as attorneys in the Maryland office expect, he would be the third of Trump's perceived enemies. Don't you love it when they do that? To face federal prosecution under Trump's Department of Justice in a matter of a few weeks. Bolton, whom Trump fired from his first administration, has been a vocal critic of the president. His lawyer has said he did nothing improper. Unlike the widespread resistance career prosecutors in Virginia have shown to Trump's pressure campaign to charge former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Leticia James, career prosecutors in Maryland consider charges against Bolton to have some factual merit, the people said. Kelly Hayes, the acting U.S. attorney for Maryland, has told Justice Department colleagues she believes there is a reasonable basis to pursue charges against Bolton. In Virginia, the first U.S. attorney installed by Trump resigned under pressure after he pushed back against charging Comey and James. Both were indicted after Trump made his personal attorney, Lindsay Halligan, the top prosecutor in the Commonwealth. She single-handedly presented evidence to jurors in both cases. Oh my goodness, y'all. My goodness indeed. Oh, the chickens are coming home to roost. But that sort of begs the question. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. Let me give you a little more detail about this. I got the report here from MSNBC, and I think you guys are going to want to see this. The lady who's mentioned in that article, Carol Leoning, is on MSNBC in this clip. And if you want to know more specifically about what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, check this out.
State of Maryland, where the U.S. attorney there is moving forward quickly to seek criminal charges against President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. Joining us now with her exclusive reporting, MSNBC senior investigative correspondent Carol Leoning. James Comey, Leticia James, now John Bolton. Is this case different?
Yes, Katie, it is. Let me just give you the news first. Exclusively, we're reporting here on MSNBC that the effort to prosecute and bring criminal charges against Donald Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, is moving very quickly, to the point that some believe this inside the office, that these charges will come as early as next week. We are also hearing that the office is considering whether to go to a grand jury or actually do something a little bit different, which is to file the charges in a formal court complaint. That allows the office to move more quickly. And we are awaiting word right now about exactly when that might happen. You asked, is this different? If Bolton is criminally charged, who will be the third person on Donald Trump's sort of targeted list of enemies to face prosecution and criminal charges in as many weeks? But the case is different because in the Eastern District of Virginia, where Comey and James were indicted, the prosecutors there, almost to a person, resisted the case. A U.S. attorney lost his job. It was pushed to resign under threat of being fired by Donald Trump for not wanting to pursue those cases. The prosecutors did not feel that there were facts to back that up. In the case of Bolton, in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland, the acting U.S. attorney, we are told, is comfortable with pursuing these charges, not of mortgage fraud, not of bank fraud, not of lying to Congress, as were the case with Comey and with James, but with mishandling or holding on to national security information, classified information at his home.
Carol, does that surprise you? I mean, given what John Bolton had been saying about President Trump, the criticism.
Well, there you go, folks. Why do I get the feeling this is going to happen? Now, fair enough. Who was it? I saw this. Brother, you may be right. I'm not saying you're wrong, but hey, let's see. Let's roll the dice. Let's see what happens here. You know, and yeah, I'm with you on this one too. Let's get them. If you're going to go after these guys, you may as well go after the two biggest fish of them all. So let's see what happens. So yeah, this is coming down the pipe and could happen as early as next week. So, and believe me, the freak out is just extraordinary to watch. Nicole Wallace, who I always love trying to get her reaction to something because you can tell how things are going by the way she responds. Check it out.
Bolton, former national security advisor turned sharp critic of Donald Trump, is expected to be the subject of a complaint or even an indictment as early as next week. MSNBC, citing two sources, is reporting exclusively that the acting U.S. attorney in Maryland is moving forward quickly to seek criminal charges against Bolton. They reportedly relate to claims that he improperly kept classified national security information in his Maryland home. His home was searched in August. Bolton's lawyer insists that his client, John Bolton, did nothing improper. It is the second instance of targeting a prominent Trump critic.
Targeting a prominent Trump critic. Ah, yes. The great defense. The great defense of MSNBC and CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC. This is what they're going to. He's a Trump critic. They're going after. I tell you. Okay. Again, let's see what kind of case they present. Let's see what they've got. In Bolton's case, I'll put it this way. It is alleged by some that not only was he keeping this stuff, like certain other politicians, was selling it. Again, that's a big accusation to make. Let's see what somebody can prove here. Let's see what somebody can prove. Yeah. Let's see what they can prove. Hello, Scott. Good to have you in the house this morning. Booyah, my friend. Booyah indeed. Let's see. What else have we got here? Does Bolton have to share a cell with his mustache, or do they get separate accommodations? Asked WWG1. That's a good question, my friend. That is a good question. You know. Oh, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you for this at all, George. Not in the slightest, my friend. Not in the slightest. Oh yeah, yeah. And he went from being the most hated mustache to the mustache that they love to be tickled by. There you go, folks. So yeah, they're in full freak out mode. And here's the kicker to it. Would it surprise you guys to know that this case may have started under the Biden DOJ? I got a clip here from CNN. Do me a favor and tell me what you guys think.
Who's next here? Because there, of course, have been kind of lists out, as Scott pointed out, the president freely talks about a lot of the people that he wants to go after. So here are some people that are under investigation right now. John Bolton, John Brennan, Lisa Cook, of course, Federal Reserve, Chris Krebs, Adam Schiff, Jack Smith, Miles Taylor. The public calls to investigate Reid Hoffman, Mark Milley, George Soros, Fani Willis, Chris Wray. This is quite an array of people. Scott Jennings, one person we've heard about is John Bolton, although it sounds like that investigation may have begun under the Biden administration.
Yeah, that started under Biden. And from what I read in the newspaper, they did find classified material, according to the reporting, in his house. And so I don't know if he...
Yeah, now that's the great irony of all this is the thing that got all this started were prosecutors working for Joe Biden. Well, yeah. Well, I don't know that I'd say that I watch them as much as I borrow from them every so often. So there you go. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And here, she's asking the question, who's next? Well, sit tight, sister, because this could get real interesting real fast. Now, do I know what's going to happen to these people by way of a jury verdict? No idea. Some people are saying Comey might walk. His case might get kicked. I don't know. But at least we're starting to move forward somewhat with the idea of getting justice under the law. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. All right. Moving on to a different topic now. And I got to thank TBA for the meme that he sent me, because it kind of sets up something that I'm more and more realizing, although it's kind of hard for me to fathom. And that is perspective. And what am I talking about? it is very hard for people to get out of their own bubble or their own echo chamber, or what I'm getting at is hearing different perspectives. And I'm just as guilty of this as anybody else. Okay. I have my own biases, and that will sometimes lead me to not want to listen to the other side as far as their argument or their position or their what have you. And TBA found a pretty good meme that I think kind of sums up that perspective. Lucy looks at Snoopy and says, "I don't understand you. Trump is destroying the whole world and you're dancing." Snoopy looks back at her and says, "Trump is only destroying your world and that's why I'm dancing." It's a lot of times a matter of perspective. Okay. Now, that's going to lead very broadly into our next topic. And this one is disturbing to me on so many levels that, especially when we get to the crescendo of it, because there's a poll, and I don't know if it's out officially yet or not, or if it's internal, but if the results of it are true, man, I am really scared for where we are right now. I mean, I've been scared for a while. This just heightens it for me. So I got a story here, and this is from a few days ago. I mean, this has been out and about now. But the things that are coming off of it are just, man. Anyway, from the Associated Press, Democrat in Virginia Attorney General race apologizes for 2022 text messages depicting political violence. Got an article here from Bruce Schreiner and Olivia Diaz at the AP. Dateline Richmond. Virginia's Democratic candidate for Attorney General has apologized for widely condemned text messages from 2022 that revealed him to suggest that a prominent Republican get, quote, 2 bullets to the head. The text put the Democrat challenger, Jay Jones, on the defensive in what has been a hard-hitting campaign. Early voting is well underway in Virginia ahead of the November general election. Jones's campaign didn't challenge the accuracy of the text, first reported by the National Review, and he offered a public apology to Todd Gilbert, the target of the messages. Jones said he took full responsibility for his actions. Gilbert was Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates at the time, the text messages, but is no longer a legislator. Jones has faced a torrent of bipartisan criticism since the messages surfaced. Now, hold on to that thought about bipartisan criticism, okay? We'll get to that in a minute. Jones is challenged by Republican incumbent Jason Miyares for the job as Virginia's top prosecutor. Now, I got to give the AP a lot of credit here. And I really do mean this, okay? Talk about a whitewash job, okay? This article doesn't even really come close to telling you everything that Jay Jones said. You want to know everything he said? Okay. I got a clip here. Now, this is from the gubernatorial debate in Virginia the other night between Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat, and her opponent, Sears. Okay. And I want you to listen to this. I mean, like I said, this article doesn't even come close. You're going to hear exactly what he said. And this, I mean, I like to think there's very little that can shock me anymore. This one did it to me. Folks, this is from the governor's debate in Virginia the other night. Watch this.
You both will have a chance for rebuttal. Democratic Attorney General nominee Jay Jones admits he sent text messages to a colleague referencing former Republican House Speaker Todd Gilbert. Here's what he wrote.
Now get ready, folks, because, and I'm not trying to be dramatic about this, I think you're going to find this shocking.
Jones. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Colleague. Jay, please stop. Jones. LOL, okay. I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. Colleague. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Jones. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 3 people, 2 bullets. Hitler, Pol Pot, and Todd Gilbert. Guess what? Todd Gilbert gets both bullets. But it's the statement he makes toward the end of this. Listen to this one more time.
Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy.
So basically, the candidate for Attorney General in Virginia, not more than 3 years ago, held the belief that the only way to get people to change, particularly if they're Republicans, is to make them feel pain. Oh, I see. I'm a little different on this. Am I shocked? Not really. Am I surprised? Yeah, I am. I really am. Now, I set that up. Now, keep in mind, we're watching a clip from the Virginia debate. The reporter is about to ask Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat candidate for governor, about this. So she's done the right and responsible thing, played all the comments. Okay. And this is Spanberger's going to get asked about this. So with that, folks, check this out. Listen very carefully to how Abigail Spanberger answers this question.
Jay Jones has apologized and says he takes full responsibility for those messages. Ms. Spanberger, you have called the comments disgusting and said you condemn violence. The question for you tonight is, were you aware of these messages before they were released publicly? And will you continue to endorse Jay Jones as the next Attorney General of Virginia? You have 60 seconds.
Okay, now before we play the answer, that is a reasonable question. Will you continue to endorse him for Attorney General? We're not even talking about, she asked her the question, are you going to call for him to get out of the race? She asked the question, are you going to pull your endorsement of him? Okay. Based on these comments, are you going to pull your endorsement? Here comes the answer. Watch this.
The comments that Jay Jones made are absolutely abhorrent. I denounced them when I learned of them, and I will denounce them every opportunity I get. As a mother, as a public servant, as a candidate for governor, I denounce them. And it is important that candidates always denounce violence on no matter which side of the aisle. Violence, violent rhetoric, we should always be focused and forceful in our denouncement of it.
Are you going to tell him
and
to get
importantly, my opponent unfortunately only denounces violence when her side is the target. I hope
like that,
into
Abigail.
the future she will endeavor to denounce violent rhetoric and violence no matter who the victim. And tonight, Lieutenant Governor Earl Sears, I will say, you routinely referred to me as your enemy.
Just please
You
give her a chance to
routinely
respond.
refer to me as your enemy. I'm not your enemy. You are not my enemy. We are political opponents, and tonight voters are here to listen to the policy differences that we have. So as we
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. Spanberger did what Democrats normally do in a moment like this. She answered without answering. Now, Winsome Earl Sears did not look. Can I say how I would react during a debate for an office that high? No. But one of the first things you learn is, look, you don't always need to interrupt somebody. And I think that's one mistake she did make. I've seen several clips from the debate. Well, I'm not going to go so far as to say she's a terrible candidate. In that debate, she gave a terrible performance. Okay. Sometimes the best thing you can do in a debate is let your opponent talk themselves right into the ground. And my strategy would have been, hey, let Spanberger talk. And then when she's done talking, pounce. Let her have it. Yeah, I agree. This is what I'm talking about. Okay. And now, if someone's wondering, well, Brian, do you think Spanberger's going to be governor? Possibly. Matter of fact, I'm going to take it from possible to probable, only because of the demographics of the state of Virginia. Okay. If Winsome Earl Sears were a slightly better candidate, I would say it's even money on who becomes governor. I think Spanberger, because of the demographic advantage, is probably going to be the next governor of Virginia. I really do. I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. But Spanberger was asked the question, are you going to pull your endorsement? She never said she would. To this day, she hasn't pulled her endorsement of Jay Jones. To the best of my knowledge, no candidate in the state of Virginia has pulled their endorsement of Jay Jones. Now, maybe I'm wrong on that point because Kawan lives in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I mean, if I'm wrong about this, Kawan, straighten me out, but I don't think I am. To the best of my knowledge, nobody, and I mean nobody, has pulled their endorsement of Jay Jones, including the gubernatorial candidate, right? Now, I could go on and play another 2.5 minutes of this thing, but it kind of speaks for itself. Nobody has pulled their endorsement of this man, who would have been just as happy to see 2 bullets put into the head of the then Republican Speaker of the House of Delegates. Well, but see, I'm not so sure it's that nobody cares or nobody realizes the import of what was revealed. Now, here's what I'm getting at. We've been talking about it on this channel for a while. Other people around social media have been talking about this for a while. And that is how Democrats have normalized not only violent rhetoric, but violence itself. Now, I can just hear some of you lefties out there who are watching my live stream, and y'all know you do. You just don't want to admit it. Okay? I can just hear some of you lefties out there right now. We don't normalize political violence. It's you people on the right. You Proud Boys, you J6ers, you blah, 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 blah. Really? Y'all haven't reached the point that you've normalized political violence in your own party or on your side of the ideological aisle? Really? John Fredericks, himself a radio talk show host, himself a commentator, got the results of a poll the other day, and I found this morning. I found the clip this morning, and I want to bring it to you guys because I think you need to hear this. So you Democrats out there claim that you haven't normalized political violence, that you still find it repellent and abhorrent, and you do not advocate for it, and you have problems with it. You don't want to see it happen, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Well, then you're going to have a hard time squaring your position with the information that's being brought to you right here. This is John Fredericks. Check this out.
So I just got a poll, just came out last night, got it when I got up today. This is really going to not sit well with you. And a poll was sanctioned by the John Reed for Lieutenant Governor campaign, so I got the insight on it. It hasn't been released yet. But here's the one number that is going to make you sick to your stomach. Here's the one number. When Democrats in Virginia were asked, did the text that Jay Jones sent to a colleague calling for the assassination of, at that time, Republican Speaker Todd Gilbert, his wife, his kids, hoping his kids would die in her arms so she could suffer, calling for police to die so he could get policy on qualified immunity. When asked the question, are these texts disqualifying for your candidate for Attorney General? 7% of Virginia Democrats said yes. 93 said no.
I'm going to play that again. I want you to hear this. For you folks out there on the political left who are watching this live stream right now, and you're saying to yourselves, no, we haven't normalized political violence. We have when this kind of thing is said or done, we absolutely protest. We don't want this. We're tapping it down. We are taking care of this. Really? Really? Okay. I want to play this again. I'm going to start this from the top, and I want everybody to hear this. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen, because like I said, I don't think you folks on the political left have a whole lot of room to defend your argument about how you're not normalizing politically violent rhetoric.
So I just got a poll, just came out last night, got it when I got up today. This is really going to not sit well with you. And a poll was sanctioned by the John Reed for Lieutenant Governor campaign, so I got the insight on it. It hasn't been released yet. But here's the one number that is going to make you sick to your stomach. Here's the one number. When Democrats in Virginia were asked, did the text that Jay Jones sent to a colleague calling for the assassination of, at that time, Republican Speaker Todd Gilbert, his wife, his kids, hoping his kids would die in her arms so she could suffer, calling for police to die so he could get policy on qualified immunity. When asked the question, are these texts disqualifying for your candidate for Attorney General? 7% of Virginia Democrats said yes. 93 said no.
Now, you folks out there on the political left, you want to explain to me again how you haven't normalized political violence or politically violent rhetoric? Let's just take this poll as presented, and let's just assume it's accurate. 93% of Democrats in Virginia do not find the comments of Jay Jones, their candidate for Attorney General, to be disqualifying. In other words, knowing that he said these things, they don't say to themselves, I'm not voting for this guy. Quite the opposite. They're like, oh, we're fine with it. Just let that sink in. 93%, again, and take the poll for what it's worth. I don't know anything about it. It's sample size, where in the state it polled, etc. But let's just assume it's a good poll and the results are accurate. 93% of Democrats are saying, nope, I don't have a problem with him saying that, put 2 bullets in the head of the former of the Speaker of the House of Delegates. Nope, no problem. Yeah, did Jay Jones say that? No problem. I'm still going to vote for him. For you Democrats in Virginia, what in the world happened to y'all? Are you so full of hate that you can't even look at yourselves or look at people inside your own party and say, hey, man, I want to win as much as anybody else, but if he's going to say crap like that, I don't want him anywhere near the levers of power. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's absolutely what I'm saying, WWG1. If that poll is to be believed, and again, take it for what it's worth, but if that poll is accurate, this is frightening. Oh, no, hold on. I have no problem at all with them wanting to win. Okay? I don't have a problem with that at all. But when you want to win so badly that you will ignore the pure, unvarnished truth that comes out of somebody's mouth about the idea that people have got to feel pain in order for them to change on policy. In other words, sometimes you've got to get them to feel political violence in order to get them to change their mind on their politics. That crosses over into a whole different realm. Okay? That's a whole different thing right there. That is pure Machiavellian, win at all costs, screw morals, screw scruples, screw everything else, chuck it all out the window. We are no better than the animals in the jungle. And 93% of Democrats don't have any problem at all with that kind of a statement. But again, I can just hear these lefties out there. It's like, oh my God, you're just taking one example, and you're just brother and sister. How many examples do you need before you realize that the party that you are associated with is just plain evil? Good morning to the great and legendary Reuben Christopher Haynes. He weighs in. We need to realize that half of all people are living in Fantasy Island. They have been fed toxic garbage their entire lives. I always saw the garbage, but that is the risk of a free society. Good point, and good to have you here, sir. It's important to note that with freedom comes responsibility, and they all lack responsibility, and this is where the administrators will take over what they are doing, and we will have to stop them. Yeah. Look, does this guy have the right to say what he said? Yeah, he's got the right to say it. Should he suffer consequence for it? Yeah. The consequence ought to be he should be called upon to retire from the race for Attorney General. And every Democrat who's endorsed him ought to pull the endorsement. They're not even doing that. Well, yeah, no, this is a fair point too. Absolutely fair point, my friend. Now, again, you lefties out there saying, it's just an isolated example. He's just one guy. Really? Really? I asked the question, how many more examples do you need before you realize that the political party that you are associated with is constituted of evil human beings and is absolutely beyond the hope of repair? How many more examples do you need? I'll give you one just broke loose on Friday. This is from CNN. Conservative influencer Benny Johnson accuses Democrat Party of violence as Pam Bondi announces arrest in his death threat. Article by Hannah Rabinowitz. We've got the following. Let me pop up the size on this thing, make it easier for y'all to read. There we go. That's better. A conservative influencer, Benny Johnson, railed against the Democrat Party for having, quote, mainstreamed violence as a political tool during a Department of Justice press briefing where Attorney General Pam Bondi discussed a death threat against him. At an event in Florida, content creator Benny Johnson said he received a graphic letter threatening the lives of him and his family members, a threat he attributed to Democrat politicians calling for violence against conservatives and Christians. Quote, we must understand the battle we are fighting, good versus evil, darkness versus light, and good must conquer the evil. Johnson said, referring to political violence he attributed to Democrats, do not make peace with evil. Again, you want to know what was said? You really want to know what was said? Give me a moment here, folks, and I'll let you know. You want to hear it? Again, this is the stuff that absolutely makes you crazy. Watch this.
1 month ago today, I witnessed my friend of 10 years, someone who I considered a brother, a loving husband, a devoted father, a generational leader, get assassinated on a live stream. by a left-wing radical. Approximately 1 year ago, I witnessed the President of the United States get shot in the head by a left-wing radical, who also took the life of a Trump supporter in front of his daughters and wife. 2 months ago, Christian children kneeling and praying in a church were slaughtered by a left-wing extremist. And 2 weeks ago, federal law enforcement was shot at multiple sniper rounds in a federal facility by a left-wing extremist. If it's happening every single week, is it that extreme? Or has the Democrat Party mainstreamed violence as a political tool? The individual who wrote me described why he wanted me dead. I was a white, cis, Christian Trump supporter. They described in great detail how I would be killed in an open field just like Charlie, how much blood would come out of my head and neck when it was blown off. This individual described orphaning my 4 beautiful children and widowing my wife with great joy. You might want to say, another left-wing radical, another extremist. And to that, I would like to direct your attention to the state of Virginia, where Democrats have nominated and are about to vote for the chief law enforcement officer in that state, a man who has done the exact same thing. An individual who's calling for the assassination by bullets of Republicans that he disagrees with. The killing of their children. The slaughtering of, as he says, little fascists. Are my 4 innocent, beautiful children little fascists?
Stop it right there, because we could keep on going for the 2 minutes. We're living in some scary times, folks. Just some absolutely scary times. I don't know, man. I do not know. Oh, yeah. And let's remember the ball game where Steve Scalise got shot. I mean, we could keep on going, listing example after example after example after example of this. It's absolutely crazy. It really is. Now, fortunately, they arrested a suspect in the Benny Johnson case. But this has got to stop. And with all due respect to you folks out there on the political left, please don't sit there and give, well, when you guys dial down your rhetoric, we'll dial down. No. The problem's coming from your side. I will never forget watching an interview between Viva Frei and Roger Stone. And Roger Stone made a statement that I think truly sums up a lot of where we are. He said, when I first got into politics, I wanted to beat my opponents, but I didn't want to destroy them. He said, the difference between when I got into politics and now is not only do they want to beat me, they want to destroy me. They not only want to beat their political opponent, they want to destroy them financially, professionally, in some cases now physically. It's scary. It really is. Truly it is. We've got a very, very sick mentality that's taken over the country. And it just really, really kind of just blows the mind. Anyway, all right. We got a little bit of time left on this live stream, so we're going to move on to a couple of different topics. And we're going to enter a phase of this show called HodgePodge Stew. Now, for those of you maybe who are you're dropping by for the first time, or maybe you're, just checking us out, you're wondering, well, what the heck is HodgePodge Stew? HodgePodge Stew is that collection of stories that interesting. They're not necessarily the biggest stories out there, the ones that are being talked about the most, but, for various reasons, they pique the interest of your host, and I bring them to you for your consideration. Now, this one I heard about the other night, and I am not going to lie, this one breaks my heart. Have you guys heard about what's going on in Canterbury, England? Now, for those of you maybe like Canterbury, why does that sound so familiar to me? Canterbury is the home of one of the most beautiful cathedrals in all of Western Europe, and that is the Canterbury Cathedral. It was built in the late 5th century, allegedly by St. Augustine, as a way to reintroduce Roman Catholicism to the Anglo-Saxons. That cathedral has been there for over 1,500 years. It is famous for many different things. As a matter of fact, if you're any kind of a student of history and I say Canterbury Cathedral, you'll probably remember the story about the legendary Archbishop Thomas à Becket, who was murdered at the hands of a handful of knights belonging to King Henry II. Now, it's been a great debate among people in history. Did Henry order his knights to kill Thomas à Becket, or did they just take matters into their own hands? Well, that's, like I said, it's one of those great debates in world history, because Henry is remembered for his statement, "Would to God that someone rid me of this troublesome priest." And like I said, no one knows for sure whether Henry was telling his knights, go take care of him, or whether they just took matters in their own hands. But I say all that to say, Canterbury Cathedral is probably one of the most famous historical sites in not just England, but I'd argue the Western world. Well, yeah, and some of you, I see your comments in chat, and I know you guys know the story I'm talking about. I got a story here from the UK Daily Mail that just breaks my heart, because when I was very young, I was a teenager, I got the chance to go over to England. And one of the places we visited was the Canterbury Cathedral. And to see what's happening now is just absolutely breaking my heart. So this is our first story for HodgePodge Stew, and it goes something like this. From the UK Daily Mail: sacrilegious graffiti exhibition makes Canterbury Cathedral, quote, look like an underground car park in Peckham, say appalled worshippers. Article by Robert Folker, a news reporter for the Daily Mail. We have the following. Now watch this. A new graffiti exhibition at Canterbury Cathedral has been described as sacrilegious, with one saying it makes the historic church look, quote, like an underground car park. The art installation Hear Us allows people to pose questions to God, and they are then plastered on pillars, walls, and floors around the ancient building in Kent. And while some have reported their intrigue, many worshippers have taken offense at encountering the artwork. One said the work was sacrilegious, while another said it was more suited to a South London car park. Others asked, who will rid me of these troublesome graphics? A reference to the Henry quote. And how do you people not tire of the cringe? This is awful. Canterbury Cathedral, what are you doing? And on it goes. Now, we'll show you some pictures of what this stuff looks like here in a minute. The temporary graffiti imagery has also been added alongside the cathedral's historic graffiti, which includes ancient markers, mark dates back hundreds of years. The installation features answers responding to questions, what would you ask God, in graffiti-style lettering, which has now been affixed to some of the cathedral's stone pillars, walls, and floors. Organizers hope the striking contrast between the ancient architecture and the contemporary messaging will spark conversations around these questions. Quote, There is a rawness which is magnified by the graffiti style, which is disruptive, said David Monteith, Dean of Canterbury, who has recognized the potential for Hear Us to divide opinion. There is also an authenticity in what is said because it is unfiltered and not tidied up or sanitized. Above all, this graffiti makes me wonder why I am not able to be as candid, not least in my prayers. This exhibition intentionally builds bridges between cultures, styles, and genres, and in particular allows us to receive the gifts of younger people who have much to say and from whom we need to hear much. Okay. All right. You want to know what this looks like? You really want to know what this looks like? I got pictures. This is going to act for those of you who love great architecture, regardless of whether you are even religious or not. Okay. If you love great architecture, this is going to break your heart. Here are some of the pictures. Here are some of the images that are being painted on stones that are over 1,500 years old in a cathedral that has been around since the 5th century AD. Okay, these are on the pillars inside the cathedral. I mean, these are that's a marble pillar. This is down a tunnel walkway. Yeah. Yeah. This is the idea. This is the idea that somebody had to try and bridge the gap between the generations. Look at this. Look at this. This is disgusting. I'm sorry. This is disgusting. That's that is the outside picture, and it's a beautiful, and I mean beautiful, cathedral. Yeah. Yeah. This was someone's idea of, building bridges between cultures, genres, styles in particular, that allow us to receive the gifts of younger people who have much to say and from whom we need to hear much. Gypsy, as always, you're usually about 2 steps ahead of me. You're about 2 steps ahead of me, my dear. Oh, it was sanctioned. It was absolutely sanctioned. It was absolutely sanctioned. This is not vandalism. They did this on purpose. The curators of the Canterbury Cathedral, the Anglican Church, allowed this to happen on purpose. It's an actual exhibit. Now, here's the question that I have. When is this going to be done in a mosque? Oh, yeah, I went there. Yeah, you're daggone right. I went there. I absolutely did. I went there. I guarantee you, if this was attempted to be done in a Islamic mosque in England, I guarantee you something very bad is going to happen to whoever did it. There is no way in the world, without even knowing that much about the inner workings of a mosque, I guarantee you this would never happen. Sanctioned or not, this would never happen inside an Islamic mosque. Howdy, Robert. Fist bump to you, sir. Yep. Yeah, we could do a lot without hearing from the Utes. Amen to that, brother. I hope that the people of Kent and Canterbury absolutely scream to the highest levels and make this stuff be taken out. It is disgraceful that they're doing this. I mean, like I said, even if you're not religious, okay, even if you have no affinity or love for Christianity, regardless of denomination, okay, this is appallingly sick. Truly appallingly sick. And like I said, I pray to God that the people in that area absolutely make the folks who are the curators of the Canterbury Cathedral make them scrub this stuff down themselves. And that also gets to something else. Let me, if you'll give me just a moment here to talk about a religious aspect of this. You know, they're saying that they're asking questions of God. Well, excuse me, do you not have enough power in and of yourself from the pulpit to be able to try to answer those questions that people might have? Instead, you would let them desecrate a church? I mean, you know, say what you want to about the practitioners of the Islamic religion. They care enough about the places of worship. I doubt this would ever happen. Okay. Oh, really? Your kid? Now, I believe you, but that's just, you can't even say the word bacon in the UK. Oh my word. Yeah. I mean, this is just heartbreaking on just so many levels. Really is. Oh, honey, it's been a joke for the Church of England's been a joke for a long time now. But seriously, to you folks in the Anglican Church, you mean to tell me that you don't have enough insight, power, whatever term you want to use, that you can't speak from the pulpit and say, "Thus saith the Lord"? That you can't search the scriptures and give people answers to the questions they're asking? But instead, you'll let them desecrate your church. Man, some of y'all just need to hang up your robes right now and get out of the pulpit. That's all I'm saying. Holy cow. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. A couple more stories that we're going to bring the train into the station. As I mentioned at the top of the show, the federal shutdown is still on, and now it's starting to reach the point where we're about to start seeing layoffs. This is a headline from NBC. Trump administration begins laying off more than 4,000 federal workers amid government shutdown, court filings show. Affected agencies include the Department of Homeland Security, Education, Energy, Health and Human Services, among others, according to a Justice Department filing. Article by Sahil Kapoor, Yamiche Alcindor, Monica Alba, Laura Strickler, and Zoe Richards. We got the following. Dateline, Washington, D.C. The Trump administration on Friday began laying off more than 4,000 federal workers, according to a court filing, as the government remains shut down due to the inability of Congress to reach a funding deal. The reduction in force notices are being sent to federal workers across 7 departments, with the Department of Treasury and the Department of Health and Human Services being the hardest hit and accounting for more than half of the total layoffs, according to a new Justice Department filing. The court filing is in response to a lawsuit over the shutdown layoffs from the American Federation of Government Employees and the AFL-CIO. The rifts have begun, said White House Budget Director Russ Vought on a Twitter post earlier on Friday, referring to reductions in force for workers. While he didn't provide details, a spokesman for the White House Office of Management and Budget confirmed to NBC News that the layoffs had begun and they will be, quote, substantial. So there you go, folks. It's rolling on down the road. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Yes. I will I'll give you something to keep your eyes on. And folks, get ready. There is a new message that we're trying to get out there. And if you wonder what the message might be, I'm sorry, Kawan, I got to do this to you, brother. I got a Jimmy Kimmel clip for your consideration. There's a new message coming in from the political left, and they want to make you aware of the following. So listen up, folks, because the message is in, and they're going to try and drive this home. Check it out.
You understand, there's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa. This is no different than if they announced they rounded up a dozen Decepticons. We've captured the Chupacabra, everyone. And then it was Trump's turn to ratchet up the rhetoric with fiery images conjured from no one has any idea where.
So, Antifa doesn't exist. Now, you might be saying to yourself, oh, come on, Brian, give me a break. Give me a break. Of course, he's just one person. How can you sit there and say that this is messaging coming from the left about Antifa? How can you possibly sit there and say that, they're trying to, get a message across to people? Who is this mysterious they? Oh, okay. You think it's just confined to Jimmy Kimmel? Do me a favor. Watch this. Here's a compilation of folks.
There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. There is no group.
It's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
It isn't an organization. It is in many ways mythology.
It's not like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, sort of defined terrorist organizations with leadership that leads violence.
It's not a highly organized movement. It's a moniker. It's not a unified group like the Proud Boys are.
Things like Antifa are things that are thought up.
It's all in this guise of going after Antifa, which is nothing. There's no organization called Antifa.
Nobody's a member of Antifa because it doesn't exist. They are just declaring into existence something that doesn't exist.
There is no Antifa organization, so maybe that's good for social media. But it really is non-existent.
They exist on the internet in chat rooms and in 4chan and Discord and places like that, where they run discussion boards, trade tactics, documents, things like that. But none of them are called Antifa.
There's no Antifa.
Oh, really? So there's no, yeah. And you wonder why folks like me say there is a coordinated message happening here. So now they're trying to convince everybody Antifa doesn't exist. Oh, don't believe what you see with your lying eyes. Don't believe that at all. Oh, no. Really? All right, fine. If you don't want to believe what you see with your lying eyes, why don't we check out a little excerpt from this past week, the conference about Antifa at the White House. Folks, do me a favor, and if your friends start trying to say to you, hey, there's no such thing as Antifa, this is a myth, show them a little bit of this.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Nick Shirley. I'm 23 years old. I'm a 100% independent YouTube journalist. And over the past year or so, I've been able to go to 15 countries. I've hung out with people in the gangs of Brazil, in the favelas, in the prisons of Secot. But yet the most dangerous places I have been here in the United States, unfortunately. And I've had the opportunity to show people about the protest Antifa here in the United States, and there's nothing organic about what they are doing here in the United States. I've watched people be bussed in from states. I've watched the same lady at a protest in Atlanta be bused to the protest in DC and then in New York City. There's nothing that is honest about what they are doing. And they have signs. I've seen the same signs here in DC and in London as well. It's a big organization and corporation that they're running. And people may wonder, like, what's the threat to us as Americans if we go? Well, you'll be labeled as a fascist, you'll be labeled as a Nazi, and they'll wish death upon you because they wish death upon me. And just last week in Portland, Oregon, I watched a lady get trapped in her car, surrounded by Antifa, and her sister messaged me after seeing the video. She said, the only reason I think my sister was safe is because you were there recording. I also was chased out by a member of Antifa who said he would smoke me, and next thing he knew, a DHS sniper had lasers on his chest. If he was not there, who knows what would have happened that day. These people are very dangerous, and people wonder how they're able to do it. It's the reason is because these cities are not enforcing the law. And why should these people be worried if the law is not being enforced? And we are not far right, nor are we far wrong. We're just right. And the truth about what's happening here in America with these groups is very dangerous. And I thank you, Mr. President, and your administration as well for acknowledging that.
Thank you very much. It's too bad you have to go through it.
I know, it's a little crazy,
much.
right, Mr. President?
Well, you're going to get to the bottom of it, so it's a very important thing you're doing.
Now, I have a question for Jimmy Kimmel and Chuck Todd and all those folks in that clip. If there's no such thing as Antifa, what the heck was that kid seeing in Portland and in Atlanta and D.C. and New York City? And he's not the only, lest you say, well, he's just one isolated example. He's a 23-year-old kid. I could sit here for probably another good half an hour, 45 minutes, playing you clips from that conference that was held at the White House. People who have been eyewitnesses to what Antifa mobs are doing in these various cities, Portland in particular. Okay. I've reached out to an old friend of the channel, Tara Faul, Faul. She's a photojournalist. I'm trying to get her on for next week to see if she'd be willing to come on and talk about the things that she's seen in downtown Portland. She focuses most of her work on the homeless and the homeless crisis in Portland. But I've asked, to give her perspective. I'm trying to nail her down as far as a day and time. But, I mean, Jack Posobiec, Nick Sortor, this young man, a host of others. If Antifa is not real, then somebody explain to me just what the heck that kid was describing. And I've got one more piece related to this. Well, they're not organized. They're not anything of the sort. It's just an imaginary thing. It's just, oh yeah? Okay. Try this on for size. This is from the Post Millennial. And headline's called Riot Inc. Radical Network got over $100 million in taxpayer funds to support Antifa. Seamus Brunner of the Government Accountability Institute shed light on how funding flows to Antifa and rather radical left-wing groups that engage in protests and riots across the U.S. This article by a young man named Thomas Stevenson. We've got the following. It has been revealed that $100 million in U.S. taxpayer funding has flowed into various funding networks that help support leftist and radical groups such as Antifa and others in what Government Accountability Institute called Riot Inc. Appearing at the White House on Wednesday alongside the Post-Millennials' Katie Davis Court, Andy Nago, and other journalists, the research director of the Government Accountability Institute, Seamus Brunner, shed light on how funding flows to Antifa. Going a little further into the article, quote, we followed the money and it followed it to the top of what we call the protest industrial complex. That's a good name for it, by the way. He went on to describe what he called Riot Incorporated, or a network of organizations that fund, market, and legally support groups such as Antifa cells in the United States. We found a network of NGOs. And it's not just the Soros Network, the Open Society Network. It's other funding networks, the Arabella Funding Network, the Tides Funding Network, Neville Roy Singham and his network, Foreign Cash. It's also big left-wing funders. Some of them are not citizens of this country. Mr. Hans-Jörg Suisse of Switzerland. They're pouring money into the entire ecosystem. It doesn't just have the Antifa boots on the ground division. It's PR divisions, it's marketing. It has very well-funded legal division to get these boots on the ground back on the streets as quickly as possible, he added. So again, I asked the question of Jimmy Kimmel, Chuck Todd, all these folks. If Antifa's not real, explain those two things. Explain that. But the message is trying to get out there. Oh, there's no such thing as Antifa. It's not real. It's not real at all. Right. All right. It's about 12:30, so we're going to go ahead and bring this train into the station. I want to thank you guys ever so much, as always, for being here for Front Porch Brunch. It is a great time whenever we get together. By the way, next Saturday, we're going to do something a little bit different. I've been trying to reach out to people in and around the country to get their perspective on some of what's going on, especially with ICE enforcement agents being in their cities, etc. And our good friend Kit Cabello from Hard Lens Media is going to be here next Saturday morning, 11:30. We're still going to do the brunch, but I want to give him some time to talk about what's going on in his hometown of Chicago. We traded direct messages this morning, and he agreed he's going to be here for brunch next Saturday morning. He'll be here during the 11:30 slot. So the first hour of the show, we're going to do our normal thing, memes, a few stories, but then he's going to come on at 11:30 Eastern to talk about what's going on in the city of Chicago. So mark it on your calendars for next Saturday, 10:30 a.m. is our normal time. That's when we're going to start the live stream. But at 11:30, our good buddy Kit Cabello from Hard Lens Media in the Chicago great metropolis, he's going to be here. He's going to be talking about what's going on as he sees it with Brandon Johnson, J.B. Pritzker, and all the crazy that's going on in Chicago. So, yes, mark that down. And like I said, I'm trying to confirm. I think it's going to be Tuesday if I can get her to commit to it. Tuesday, we're going to have Tara Fall come on the show to give us an update about what's going on in Portland. So, as always, thank you for being here this morning. It's been an absolute blast. Yes, hit that thumbs up button, daggone it. Hit that thumbs up. Leave a comment in chat. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Anyway, it is Saturday. That means college football. Going to be going to a good game myself this afternoon. The lady and I are going to be putting on some Kelly green and white and checking out the old Thunder and Herd. So anyway, love you guys very much. You have yourselves a great weekend. And as always, remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Love you guys very much. Thanks for being here. We'll catch up with you later. Bye-bye.